For Tatooine, I made an illustration showing 3PO and R2 coming across the desert, and you could see their space capsule in the background. I had done artwork that went into films, but not a feature film, and not anything that matched live action. George would let me know what he wanted, basically, and I would tear through the thing rather quickly. I didn't think my paintings would be reproduced. They were just there to make everybody clear as to what George wanted the film to look like. Tatooine was to be a desert planet. I had a photograph of a big rock on the Oregon coast that I put in for a background. Instead of the ocean, I put the desert in.
We must be cautious.
I did the Tusken Raider painting and the Sandcrawler and R2-D2. There was a whole gang of stuff. I was sitting there working on these drawings, and I was thinking to myself, gee, maybe this thing really will get to be a film, you know. I thought, oh, this is too much, too expensive, just reaching too far out. But sure enough.
Tatooine's one of the most important locations in the Star Wars series, and the reason is that's where everything begins for Luke. There's a number of techniques that were done, and a lot of it was shot in Tunisia. Some of it, the land crawler, was actually shot in Death Valley and with a model about 2 or 3 feet long here in California. Some of the distant views of Tatooine are actually a matte painting. The pod was a model shot against a painting that Ralph McQuarrie did.
My first big scene with alien dialogue took place when the Jawas capture R2-D2 and carry him into the Sandcrawler. You couldn't go out and just record Jawas anywhere. I started out with a gentleman who spoke Zulu, got him to tell me stories and to act out little vignettes, different emotion, you know, angry, laughing, curious. And then we just sort of imitated it from there on. A few of my USC cinema friends, we went out to Vasquez Rocks, which is a state park north of LA with a nice echo. We would go out there and yell, "Utidi!" and this sort of stuff. I think I just put everything in it that I found was amusing at the time because we had so many little personalities as you went along. I found that if I drew upon sounds in the real world that you couldn't immediately identify, it gave real credibility to Tatooine. While they were filming in Tunisia, George heard the braying of the donkeys that were used to transport gear to their location and thought that would make a good sound of the Tusken Raiders. It was a living flesh and blood animal that gave it a whole sense of reality.
Tatooine, of course, is where Mos Eisley is and where the cantina sequence takes place. And that sort of sets the real fun of the movie. And a lot of the barroom stuff was shot in England, but then a lot of it was also done back here in Los Angeles with various masks that were made and shot, I believe, in one day. A lot of my friends actually had made the masks and were playing the characters themselves. And it was done just as a little insert. And yet, that's so important in the film and so memorable that it really added to the spirit of being in a foreign place.
Luke! Tell Uncle if he gets a translator, be sure it speaks Bachi.
Luke's home was actually a hotel in Tunisia, and not some elaborate matte painting or anything like that. It's reality, a real place they picked, and I think that really helped the film seem very, very believable because it was done on a real location.